2001, the Taliban destroyed the two Bamiyan Buddhas in Afghanistan, and that was considered a cultural crime. These were magnificent relics and works of art, and they destroyed them. They destroyed them because they held it was Avodah Zarah. I wouldn't want to agree with anything that the Taliban ever did, but there's a posuk in the Torah that seems to support them. Would we have done differently? You must utterly destroy all the places where idolatry was worshipped and all of the idols. And as we'll see, although this is said specifically about Israel, about the land of Eretz Israel, but it has applications wider than that as well. How would we have dealt with that? What is the Torah's approach to these magnificent works of art? Is there any way to save them? Or do they indeed have to be destroyed? Avodah Zarah Daf Mem Gimel Amud Aleph, the dragon ring, Tabad Rabbi Ilezer Hakapar Beribi. We're dealing with a particular story that comes up here, but before that, there's another story that happened more recently when my father came to the United States it must have been in the late 80s, and settled in San Jose in the Bay Area in California and built up the community, which is now known as Am Echad, the community of San Jose. Soon after he got there, he got a call from a very fine Chabad young man who was either studying there or lecturing in the Bay Area, I don't remember. And he came to see him. He said, I've got a shaila. The shaila is, I'm a Baal Tshuva. And before I was a Baal Tshuva, my brother, who was a dentist and used to study Buddhism with the Dalai Lama. And while he was studying with the Dalai Lama, in reciprocation for all the kindness he received from the Dalai Lama, he took care of the community's teeth. And he fixed all the teeth of the people in the area, and he did it for nothing, just as a volunteer. As an act of gratitude for everything that he had done for the people of the Dalai Lama's community, the Dalai Lama later on sent him a container load of precious Buddhas and all sorts of things that he had in his treasures. Very, very valuable container load. His brother, whenever there was a simcha in the family, would give the children or the family a gift. He would give them one of these pieces of art. And over the years, he'd collected this magnificent collection of jade art that he'd received from his brother, who'd received it from the Dalai Lama. Meanwhile, he becomes frum and he learns Masechta Avodah Zarah. And now the question is, what does he do with all the stuff in his house? Can he keep it? That's the shaila. And my father said to me, before I even go into the shaila and look it up and see what I can do for you, are you willing to do whatever I tell you the halach is, otherwise I'm wasting time? And he said, absolutely, whatever you come out is the halacha, I'm willing to do. So my father went into it and questioned him. Is it possible that they were manufactured as works of art? No, he said, they were manufactured for worship. Is it possible that they were manufactured for worship but never actually worshipped? No, they came from old temples, they were definitely worshipped. All the wrong answers he gave. Eventually, my father learned with him the piece of Rambam that we have here in the Sefer HaMitzvahs, shetzivanu la'abed avodah zarah uvatim kulam b'chol minei ha'ibud v'ashchata b'shvira u'sreifa v'harisa v'chituch, to destroy all forms of avodah zarah with every kind of destruction possible. Kol min b'ma she'utlo, use the best form of destruction for that particular material. Rutzon lomar b'ma she'yoter maflig v'yoter memaher b'ashchatato, use the form of destruction that is most effective and quickest for that particular material. V'hakavana shelo naniach lahem roshem, the intention is there should be no impression left of that avodah zarah. And the Rambam Paskins also in Hilchos Avodah Zarah. Sorry, he said, you can't give them away, you can't donate them, you can't sell them, you can't do anything, you have to destroy them. And my father didn't know how he was going to take this. He kind of prepared himself, how am I going to break this news to this young man that he's going to have to destroy all of these precious items? And the man jumped up in joy. He said, do you mean it's a mitzvah saseh? Do you mean I can actually fulfill a mitzvah that not many people have an opportunity to fulfill? So he said, I'm going to have an idol bashing party. And he invited all his friends to the pier in San Francisco, and they bashed the idols and smashed them and threw them into the sea and celebrated and had a Sudas mitzvah. That's what they did. I had a similar question from my son-in-law, Jared Duncan, who listens to the shir every day, who also had a gift given to him, and now he's learning Avodah Zarah, and he's got this Buddha in his house, and he's never really thought about it, and now he has to deal with it. These are situations that arise, and it would seem to be that we have to destroy them. The Rambam does add, there's a difference between Israel and Chutz La'aretz. In Israel, you have to go after these places and cleanse the country of idolatry. Whereas in the rest of the world, if you encounter it, you deal with it, but you don't have to engage yourself in destroying idols that aren't yours. And so it's clear that idolatry has an energy to it. If it was nothing, then why would we have to go so crazy destroying it and just ignore it? It seems that it has an energy. Once you give an object an energy, a value, once you attach a value to something, it has that energy. There is something about it. Some people love antiques because there's a story to an antique. An antique has lived a life. You can have imagination. You can wonder about the antique. Where has it been? What has it seen? And some people love it. Some people don't like antiques. Well, who knows what it's bringing into my house? What it's seen, where it's been, what its story is. Objects can bring things with them. Objects bring the energy bring an energy with them, an energy that has been infused into them by the people who have used them and the people who have loved those objects or attended to those objects. It's the same as houses, homes. The walls of a home absorb the atmosphere of a home. And sometimes you can get into a home, you can almost feel in the walls, you can feel happiness and joy, you can feel sadness and tragedy, you can feel machlokes and bitterness, objects are saturated with the meaning and emotions of the people who handle those objects. And Avodah Zarah has an energy that is there all the time. The question is, can you remove the energy, or do you have to destroy the object? Can you extract the energy from the object, and then it's just an object? Or once an object has been contaminated with Avodah Zarah, it's done. That's what we'll have a look at the moment. The Shulchan Aruch paskins the same halacha in Siman Kuf Mem Vov, and the Bir Hagro adds that mitzvah lirdov acharei afilu b'mokom shelo kibshu ad shena'abed ota mikol ha'atzor, aval b'chutz la'aretz ein anu mitzuvin lirdov acharei ela b'kol makom shenichbosh ota bilvad ne'evad kol avodot chachavim shebo. Overseas, outside of Israel, if we conquer a land and it becomes part of Israel, then we have to clean it and cleanse it of idolatry. But if we're just living in a country and there's idolatry, that's none of our business. We don't have to do that. There's this difference we see in the Rambam and then carried further in the poskim, including the Vilna Gaon, of this difference between the way we treat idolatry in our own land and the way we treat idolatry in lands that aren't our own. And we need to understand the reason for that. But before we do, let's look at our Gemara, where we have the story where Rabbi Baba Chana says, in the name of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, I was once walking behind Rabbi Elazar Akapar. Rabbi Elazar Akapar was at the end of the period of the Tanaim. He was in the time of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. It's quite interesting that there's Rabbi Elazar Akapar is quite famous for us because in, I think it's called Kfar Rachel up in the Golan, it's near Katzrin, they found the lintel of a door, and on it was written, Zeh Beit Midrasho Shel Rabbi Elazar Akapar. It's the only actual sign we've got, only archaeological remnant with the name of a Tana engraved on it. And it's today in the Katzrin Museum, that lintel. Zeh Beit Midrash Shel Rabbi Elazar Akapar. This is the Beis HaMidrash of Rabbi Elazar Akapar. Anyway, so he was walking around there on the Golan once. Umatzah sham tabat v'alea tzurat drakon. And he found a ring, and there was an image of a particular type of dragon, which is an idol-worshipping image. He found a young idol worshipper there. He didn't say anything. He found an adult idolater. And he said to him, I want you to nullify the idolatry in this ring. Declare it null and void. Extract the idolatry from the ring by saying, this has no meaning. It is possible to decommission an idol. He didn't. He forced him to do it. And then he did it. Shema Mina Tzilat, and the Gemara says we learn three things from it, and so it goes on. Ask the Gemara, why did he even have to do that? Doesn't he know that if this ring was lost by the owner was probably meyayish, he'd given up all thought of ownership, so it no longer belonged. It was hefker, it doesn't have any kind of value. Answers the Gemara, Amar Abaya. Abaya says, Nehi de mina meyayish, me isura mi meyayish. Abaya introduces a fascinating concept. You can have yeyush, you can give up hope and ownership of the object. So the commercial value of the ring is no longer something of mine, I've given out, I'm never going to find it again. But the value, what it stands for, the idolatry that it stands for, that I'm still attached to. And therefore, although the Yeush works to devalue the ring from its commercial value, it doesn't remove the value of idolatry from the ring. That's still attached to the ring. And therefore, he needed an idol worshipper, because a Jew can't do it, as we learned yesterday, an idol worshipper who worships idols, even if not that particular idol, needs to come and decommission the ring, and then he could take the ring and he could have it. The question is, why did he not do what the young man in the Bay Area did? Why did Rabbi Eliezer HaKapar not say, oh my goodness, look at this, there's a piece of idolatry here, we can have an idol bashing party. Let's be Mekayim the mitzvah of Abei Tabedun. This is Eretz Yisrael. This is in Israel. We have to destroy idolatry. I've got an opportunity to be Mekayim a mitzvah. Instead, he gets the non-Jew, the idolater, and forces him to decommission the ring, and now he doesn't have an opportunity to do Abei Tabdun, to destroy the idolatry. Why doesn't he do that? So there's a fascinating Vilna Gaon again. This is on the Pasuk, it's in the Aderet Eliyahu on the Pasuk, where the Vilna Gaon explains that the wording of the Pasuk is interesting. If you look at the verse at the top of the page, it should say asher yorshim otam should be earlier. You destroy all the places that you have inherited in which the non-Jews have served idolatry. Why does it put asher yorshim otam there? It's a little odd. And secondly, why do you even need that? Why doesn't it just say destroy the places where they served idolatry? What does the Yerusha got to do? Explains the Vilna Gaon. Nireh ma shetzifta Torah abed halo Avodah Zarah mahani bitul. Al zeh mahani bitul. Amazing chidush in the Vilna Gaon that we'll see implied in the Gemara on Daf Nun Gimel. The Vilna Gaon says bitul works for distraction. Yes, you've got to destroy Avodah Zarah, but you can do it by nullification. You can do it by decommissioning, by detaching yourself from any spiritual value that was previously attached to this object. Just as bitul works by chometz, that although the mitzvah is destroy the chometz, one of the ways of destroying, in fact, technically the preferred way of destroying, is to say it's worthless to me, I have no desire, I have no connection to it. To detach yourself from the ownership of the chometz, that's bitul. Can't you do the same with Avodah Zarah? Says the Vilna Gaon, yes, bitul is one of the methods of distraction. But if it belongs to a Jew, then bitul doesn't work. And that's why the Pasuk says, since you have owned Eretz Yisrael from long ago, from the time of Avraham, and the non-Jewish idol worshippers came and established their temples there in your property, you own that property, and now bitul doesn't work anymore. That's what the Pasuk is teaching you. Now you have to destroy it. It comes out distraction is a b'di'evet. The lechatchila, the right thing to do is to destroy the meaning of the other thing, to destroy the idolatry, not the idol. The idol might be a valuable work of art. You don't have to destroy that. Just destroy the idolatrous meaning attached to it. But you can only do that if it doesn't belong to you. You can only do that if it's not in Eretz Yisrael. So if you're in Afghanistan and there are these beautiful idols, you can get a non-Jew and say, look, one of two things. Either I'm blowing them up, or you're going to decommission them and make them works of art, and we'll build a gallery here and people can come and look at them as a work of art. And of course, any sensible idol worshipper would rather that and decommission them. And now they would have been works of art. We would never have gone along. Isn't that interesting? The world called it a cultural crime, and the world is right. Based on the Torah, the way we understand, there was no reason to destroy it. There was another way to work with it. But it goes even further as we understand the difference between Eretz Yisrael and Chutz La'aretz. And that's a beautiful Rav Kook that is buried elsewhere, that I discovered in a sefer called Cheshbonot Shel Mitzvah. Cheshbonot Shel Mitzvah is a sefer that was written by a person known as the Aderet. Eliezer David Rabinovitz Tu'umim. He's called Tu'umim because he had a twin brother that he was very, very close to. And he was the Rav in Ponevezh, he was the Rav in Mir, later on he came to Yerushalayim, and he wrote many Sforim. One of them is Cheshbonot Shel Mitzvah, which is a lomdisha analysis of the Sefer HaChinuch. Brilliant Sefer, it's just so beautiful as you read through it. And there in Mitzvah Taf Lamed Vav, he is talking about this idea of Bitul of Avodah Zarah, and he quotes She'ir Yedid Nafshi Ulevavi Chatani Harav Shlita. There's something that my beloved son-in-law said, and who's his beloved son-in-law? Rav Kook. Rav Kook married the daughter of the Aderet. It's interesting, he married the daughter of Aderet and she died soon afterwards. And the Aderet wrote to Rav Kook and said, I'm devastated, firstly that my daughter died, but I'm even more devastated that you won't be in the family anymore. Can I suggest that you marry my twin brother's daughter? And he did. He married the twin brothers of the Tumim, and then he remained in the family. Anyway, what does the Rav Kook say? If there's an idol and you have the ability to decommission it using a non-Jewish idol worshipper, does he need to destroy it, or is the bitul enough? Is decommissioning enough? In fact, you may only do bitul. You may not destroy it. Not only don't you need to destroy the Banyan Buddhas, you may not destroy them because there's another way out. Why? Because leta de bal tashchis. Since you could remove the idolatrous value of these idols, and you didn't, and now you're destroying them, that's bal tashchis. You're destroying something that doesn't need to be destroyed. You're destroying a natural asset. You're destroying a piece of cultural heritage. You're destroying a work of art. It's an isur of Baal Tashchis. Not only don't you have to blow up those Buddhas, you're not allowed to blow up those Buddhas, says Rav Kook, because of Baal Tashchis. Which means quite clearly that he regards bitul as an act of hashchota. So once you've been mevatel, once you've got somebody, a non-Jew idol worshipper, to decommission the idol, now it's just a work of art. Now you're not allowed to blow it up. Now you're not allowed to destroy it because that's Baal Tashchis. A beautiful idea of the of Rav Kook, and the Aderet supports it and goes on and explains that's why Israel is different from anywhere else, because in Eretz Yisrael, bitul doesn't work. So if there are all these, when we conquered the land of Israel, if there were all these corners of idols all over the country, how do you get rid of the energy of idolatry? There's only one way. You can't be mevatel. So the only way to do it is, as the Torah says, go after it and uproot it and find the places and destroy every one of them. That's in Eretz Yisrael where you can't be mevatel. But if you're outside of Eretz Yisrael, if you're in another country, you can be mevatel, you can have the idolatry decommissioned, removing the value, as Al Gemara says, just as you can detach yourself from the economic value of the idol, but not from its religious value, so the other way around. You can extract the religious value, destroy the religious value, and leave the economic value intact. If it's not in Eretz Yisrael and if it doesn't belong to a Jewish person, that can then be done. So it's just so beautiful, because for years and years, since 2001, I've struggled with this. What the Taliban did in Afghanistan, should we say yeshukach to them? You've removed idolatry from the world. Or did they do a terrible thing? And they impoverished the world of a piece of history and of cultural art. Absolutely, it was a terrible thing. It was Baal Tashchis in the biggest sense of the word, because there was another way to do it. They simply had to be decommissioned.